Welcome to our Lunch and Learn Tools series. I'm Kathleen Thompson, and this is the fourth of 4 in the series. You can see what they are on the screen. Today's session is about how to use the Canva design tool, even if you're not a designer, which I am not a designer, so I'm the perfect person to teach you. Now, before we get started, most of it is going to be a demonstration within the tool itself, but I wanted to explain some important principles to get started with. The first is that you always want to know what it is you want to make, because as soon as you open Canva and get to the home screen, it's going to ask you what you want to make. You also want to decide on the size or the shape where applicable, and you want to make a decision about whether you're going to start from scratch or use a template. I recommend templates because I'm not a designer, and I suspect you aren't either, because you're taking the class that says Canva for people who aren't designers. You can always edit the templates, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Now, once you build up a library of designs that you've edited and created, you can always make a copy of an old one and edit that copy from there. And that can save you a lot of time, especially with social media posts. Another thing I suggest when you're getting started is that you get the photos or images that you want to use, organize them into a folder, and have them all in one place together before you even start. It's a lot easier and faster to upload them all at once, and then you can just use them as you go. Because if you break your train of thought when you're in the middle of designing and go, oh, I need another picture, it just takes longer. Now, you can use the photos that Canva has, but the free version, which is what I'm going to demonstrate today, since probably most of you aren't paying for Canva, does not have great photos. Sometimes they're fine, and sometimes they're really terrible. So I do have a recommendation for a photo source, which is called Unsplash. Their pictures are very unique. You can use any stock photo company, but these are different. They're often professional photographers that upload them there and share them. All right, so I am going to get out of PowerPoint and go to Canva and start the demonstration. As I said, this is the home screen. And the first thing it says is, what will you design today? For purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to design a presentation. Now, really, what makes the difference between, say, presentation and website header is simply the shape and the size. So the same principles would apply to the website header that apply to this presentation. So I'm going to click Presentations, and you'll notice that it gives me basically 3 main choices, and everything else is types of presentations. So I'm going to stick with the 3 on the left. I've got 16 by 9. I've got one that's going to be on a phone, and I've got one that's 4 by 3. If you want to print your presentation and hand it out to people later, I would make it 4 by 3, because that fits perfectly on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So I'm going to choose that. And so now I have the equivalent of a white piece of paper. As if I was a writer, this might create stress. Because I'm like, now what do I do? Well, fortunately, Canva has templates, and they're over on the left-hand side. Now, when I'm searching for templates, I can just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and I cannot figure out what order they're in, so they're in some random order. I'm going to choose ones that don't have the Pro on it, because I don't have Pro, so I can't use it. I can also pick words that are across the top and say, oh, I like one of these. Oh, well, history sounds good, and just click it, and it'll show me history-related templates. Or I can type something in the search bar, and I'm going to use modern minimalist. And this gives me a bunch of choices. And so now it's narrowed them down at least. And now I'm going to start searching for one. Here's what I suggest you do when you're searching for a template. You're probably not going to like it 100% of it. There's probably going to be parts about it that you don't like. Generally, I look for font selection and combinations of fonts because, again, I'm not a designer, and that's one of the things that's hardest to do, is to choose the right fonts for your brand and also to choose the right combination of fonts to make it interesting enough and not too much. I also choose a template based on the placement of the images and also kind of what fits my brand aesthetic or the purpose for what I'm doing. I almost always change the colors. And of course, I use my own photos. If it's my presentation, I'm going to use my photos, not the ones that are in the template, unless they happen to fit what you're doing exactly, which is unlikely. So as you scroll, as you're looking for templates, ask yourself the question, what do I like and what do I not like about this template? And does it seem like it would be easy to change? Because if I like something that's hard to create, and I don't like something that's easy to change, then that's one I pick. So I chose Modern Minimalist. And if I choose it, it doesn't do anything yet. It just shows me that this is a 10-page presentation. And I might be like, well, I don't really need a 10-page presentation. It's only 2. I can just choose which ones I want, or I can choose all 10 and then delete the ones I decide not to use in the end. So I'm going to choose apply all 10 pages, and you can see that it's created a whole bunch of pages, which I now can edit from there. So I already did this. I'm going to just drag this down here. Yeah. Okay, I already did this over here. And you can see I've got numbers on the screen, so with all the things that I'm going to teach you. So this is where I go over the basics, and then I'm going to show you how to apply it to other things. The first is grouping and ungrouping. Let's say I like this text, the way this text is structured, but I want to move it up or down on the page. You'll notice that when I highlight, when I scroll over with my mouse, this is the only thing highlighted, not the other 2. But I want to move all of them. So one choice I have is to click on the first one, and then hold my shift key down and click on the second one, and then hold my shift key down and click on the third one. Now, automatically, it's going to ask me, do I want to group these? And if the answer is yes, then I'm going to say group. Now, for some reason, it didn't pick that one. Okay, there we go. I'm going to group that one too. So now the entire text block is highlighted. And so now I can just move it up or move it down. Up, over the picture. I can do whatever I want with this text. Now, let's say I change my mind and I go, no, I didn't mean to do that. I can just hit ungroup, or I can go up in the upper corner and hit undo. And it's going to undo everything I did till I get back to the original position, and each one is a separate piece of text. Now, I might want to undo because I realized that when I type Modern Minimalist made easy, that it overlaps with my other text. And if I had grouped it, that would be a problem. But because I hit undo or ungroup, I can now just move this text up and space it out the way I like it. And once I get it where I like it, I can then choose to group again if I want to group them together. So that's undo. So let's say I undo all those changes, and then I can do redo as many times as I want. One thing that's important to note is this is the title of my presentation up in this box. As soon the system is going to give it a name, and you want to name it something that matters to you. Once you do that, it's going to automatically save every so often everything you do. So the only way to get rid of something is to hit undo. And you can use the tool, or you can use the undo feature that you have on your keyboard. So that's number one. Now, the second thing is, let's say I don't like this picture. I can swap it out. So what I do is I highlight the entire picture, which you can see it's highlighted there. It's the whole thing. It goes all the way over to here because it's behind this box. I can highlight the picture and I can hit delete. Now, if it won't delete, it means that it's because the picture is actually the background, and there's a way to get rid of that, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I just hit delete on the picture, and now I want another picture. So there are two places to find my pictures. The first one is uploads. This is where my own photographs are located. And the other one is photos. As I scroll down on the left, I see a thing called menu pick called photos. And these are the stock photographs. Now, anything with a crown you don't use unless you already have the pro plan. So I'm going to look for one without a crown, and keep in mind my text is on the left. So I want the focus of the picture to be on the right, not like this where it's on the left. So I'm going to just scroll until I find a picture that I like. And let's say I like this one because this one looks kind of minimalist to me, and so I pick it. And you say, but it's upright. Why would you pick that? And you'll see in a minute. So I just single click. It brings it over. Oops, I hit it twice. You've got to be very careful. It's touchy. So I picked this picture. Great. Now I could move it over here and resize it, but I want this to be the background. So I'm going to right click the picture once it's on the template. And you'll notice it says set image as background. Pick that. And now it made it take up the entire space. Now, I can't see this whole chair. Maybe you think that's cool because it's kind of giving a hint of what's to come. But if you want to change that, you double click the picture. And now you see the entire picture is showing, and you can just drag it up all the way or part of the way. I'm going to have it like this, so just a little bit of a hint. And then when I click away, you see that it is back there and it shows a little bit more. The third thing I can do is I can add or delete elements. Now I added this. This was not in the template. I added this and I decide I don't like it. It doesn't look minimalist enough. So I just highlight the thing. I make sure my picture is not highlighted. I highlight this so it's the only thing highlighted. And I just hit the delete button, or you can hit the trash can and it's gone. But now I say, I would like to put my logo in that spot. So what could be a cool logo? So now I'm going to go over to the left again and choose elements. And this is where you can insert a whole bunch of different things. You can see there's a whole bunch of choices of types of elements, and I'm going to go back over that later. So I chose graphics, and I like this lotus flower, so I just single click it. Again, it puts it in the center of my template. And now I say, well, it obviously doesn't go there. And number two, the color doesn't look minimalist enough. And number three, it's way too big. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the color. So you can see there's a color tool right in the middle. So I click that, and now it's showing me a whole bunch of colors I can choose from. These are the colors that are already in the presentation somewhere. These are the colors that are in this picture. And these are the default colors that Canva has. So let's say I want this to blend in a fair amount. So I'm going to choose a moderately neutral color, say this one. I just click on the color I want. And now you can see that it's much more neutral. Then I take a corner and drag it till it's the size I want. And then I find this plus thing and I drag it down to the bottom corner. Now you can do these in any order. You could shrink this down first. You could change the color first, or you could move it into place first. You can do it in any order. It doesn't matter. But as long as you get them all done. And so now I have a brand new logo in place that I used using the Elements tool. And again, when I was in there, I searched for it using the word Zen. And that's how it narrowed down the choices. All right, the fourth thing I can do in here is change the background. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell which is the background and which is not the background. Obviously, the photo isn't, and obviously the text isn't, but it could be the white or it could be this. The way you can tell is that this at the bottom has only this band highlighted in purple. When I go to the white, it highlights the entire slide. So that way I know that is the background. So once it's highlighted, there's a tool up in the upper left, background color. I click that, and now it gives me a whole bunch of choices of colors. Again, same options, document colors, photo colors, default colors, and now I have gradients. Because it's a background, now I have gradients. I generally don't use those because I find them to be kind of busy, but you might from time to time. So I'm going to choose, and there's an extra feature which says see all. Now I have not only the colors in this particular photo, but I also have the colors in any photo in the entire presentation. So if there's one that strikes my fancy, I can just simply click on it. Now, let's say I pick this and I go, wow, I basically like that, but it's a little too dark for my taste. So I'm going to exit out of photo colors by clicking the arrow. Get my template over here, or my tool that says add a new color. Anytime you see this color wheel, it's generally changing the color somehow. I choose that. You'll see that the color I have selected is highlighted by this little circle thing. All I have to do is drag it and go, oh, I'm going to drag it lighter until it's not white, but it's closer to white. Once I like it, I just escape out of there by clicking somewhere else. And now it's changed my color. Now I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to choose a different color. And I'm going to show you one other feature. I'm going to just choose this green so you can see the contrast. Can do the same thing again. Go back, click this, make it whiter, 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 whiter. Ooh, that's ugly, doesn't go, but that's not bad. So you can just keep moving it until you get it the way you like it, and you're good to go. All right, now, this is the super duper combination of photo, background, and a new feature I'm going to show you. Let's say that my branding is not this beige. So I basically like this, and I like this picture, but my branding is not this color. So I want to somehow make this photo not look this beige. Here's the trick. Right-click the picture, detach image from background. So now it's smaller. Now I see that my background is actually white. I go up, I change my background color. And let's say that my background is a deep green. Do I have it anywhere in my photo colors? Let's say it's kind of like this. greenish bluish. Well, that's too gray. Sometimes they look different when you make them bigger. Let's try this one. Kind of brown. Well, let's just pick that. So now my background is brown-ish, greenish brown. So now I go back, click my picture, replace background. So you think, okay, you didn't change anything, Kathleen. But here's the trick. There's a tool. When I click the picture called transparency, I choose it. And now watch what happens when I drag this to the left. The picture starts to get darker. And it starts to take on the color that was underneath. I probably should have chosen red so it would be more obvious. And it will get all the way until you can't even see it. If you go all the way to 0. So you just go until you like it. It's totally up to your taste. But that's one way you can do that. So if I change my background again, and I'm just going to choose this orange, you can see that by having the transparency where it is, it completely made my picture look orange. And if that's my branding, it's an easy way to customize it and make it look really fit your branding perfectly. And then I would change this as well. So that's the combo tool. All right. Now, the next one I want to show you is the fonts. If I want to change the color of these fonts, I can highlight both of these and I can group them or I can not. If I'm only going to do this one time, I'll just leave it the way it is. And then again, in the center, I see colors. So it says text color. Click that. I can change it using the same tools before: document, photo, default, whatever. I'm going to just pick one that's in the photo. That's a little bit lighter than black. And so now it's not quite as highlighted. Now, one of the things you want to see here, got to scroll this up, is that there's a choice to change all. So it's asking me, do I want to change every speck of text in this presentation from black to this color? In my case, the answer is no. I don't want to do that because I want my headers to stay bright the way they are. I only want the subtext to be this color, and I can't choose between them. It's all or nothing. But if you think that it's going to be less work to change all and then just change a few of them back, that's not hard to do. So again, that's going to be up to you as to which you choose to do. My next one is back on this slide. I'm going to change this background back because it is just too bright for me to keep demonstrating on. So I'm going to change it back to this. Okay, that's a little better. Is if I want to change fonts. Oh, I have it on this slide, actually. If I want to change fonts, I can highlight the font, and you'll see this one's called Alice. I can click there, and it shows me a whole bunch of fonts. So now I can scroll, just like I could with the templates, scroll, 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 or I could type something in that makes sense to me that's going to limit my font choices. And so I chose minimalist. And it's giving me a whole bunch of choices of minimalist fonts. And I can scroll and look for some that I think I like. And then I can try them, because sometimes you think you like them, but when you try them, you decide you don't. So I try this one first and I go, that's interesting, but it doesn't somehow fit me. So I'm going to try Antic. All right. And now I go, okay, I like Antic, but I don't like how much empty space there is. If I click out of here, it looks a little too boring. It doesn't fill up the space enough. So as long as I have my text highlighted, there's a tool at the top that looks like spacing. It's very similar to how Microsoft products work. I can click it, and you can see I can do letter spacing, so I can move them apart a little more until I get it the way I like it. And then I can do the same thing with the lines. If I think they're too far apart, I can move them closer, or I can move them farther apart. And so it's all up to my own taste as to what I do with those. So that is right there, letter spacing. Now, my last one is to show you how to swap pictures out when they're already there and when there's a bunch of them, which is different from the first slide where it was kind of the background. So here I've got a series of 4 pictures, and because this was the templates team and not my team, I want to get rid of the pictures. So I'm going to do them one at a time, and I just highlight it and I hit delete. And that's why I wanted to show you this, because you can see there is a space here for an image. That's what that looks like with the clouds and the sky and the ground. So that means, and I'll show you, it's really cool. I go pick a picture. I'm going to choose one of my own pictures this time. And I have this person's picture. Now, instead of just simply single clicking, which if I do, it just puts it there. Not all that helpful. So I'm going to hit undo. If I hold the picture and I drag it into the square, it's going to automatically put my picture in there. Or at least it's supposed to. Image not found. Oh, that's because I deleted it. Never mind. We'll go back to the pictures they have. Photos. People. Find one that doesn't look horrible. Maybe I better say person. There we go. All right. And I'm going to pick one that doesn't have a pro. I'll pick this person, drag her over into the spot. And now she's there. Now you see, it decided the original picture is taller. It decided where to center it, etc. If you don't like it, you still have the choice of double clicking and you can move it around. If you want to make it a little bit mysterious, you can cut off part of her head. And I'll show you one that does that in a little bit. Or if you want to see more top, you can cut off part of her body. So it's up to you. And if you want to resize it, you can resize it and then reposition it. So once you get the picture in the spot, you can reposition it, resize it however you like. It's an excellent tool. All right. So now that I've shown you the basics, I'm going to show you another example of one that I already did something to. And first I have to move my screen again, which is challenging to do. All right, drag this down so I can see my choices. All right. This is a template that I chose. Portfolio photography. I'm a photographer. And I basically like this template, but I'm going to make quite a few changes to it. Obviously, I'm going to put my own photographs in, and then there are other changes I'm going to make as well. So that's the original. And here's what I did to the first page. I changed the font color to match my branding. I swapped the photos out, showing the technique that I just showed you a minute ago. Then I get to the About page, and I go, oh, this is kind of boring. So I'm going to change the font color. Again, there's the color. I just changed it. Same way I did before. And this time in this picture, I'm going to choose Edit Photo, which I haven't done yet before. And when you edit the photo, you have choices of different tools you can use, filters or effects. In this case, I chose an effect. I chose a shadow effect, and I chose the color of the shadowing and the positioning of the shadowing. But as you'll see, there's an arrow, and there are all kinds of different effects you can choose. And you can also change filters if you want the photo to not look like regular black and white. And I'm going to show you that in another example. Then I just changed the font color again here, no big deal, and swapped out the pictures. Same thing here, swapped out the pictures, changed the font color. And now here, I decided I wanted to do more work. Obviously, I'm going to change this font color. But I also, and I'm going to swap out the pictures, but I also decided that I don't like this picture being so small. I want them to be bigger on the page. And so, again, I just simply edited them. I just dragged it, resized it. Once I swapped my pictures, I decided exactly how I wanted it. And I just moved them around, made them bigger, made them smaller, did whatever. So now that you have this done, now it's time to share. So you have a choice if you want to present it in Canva, which I generally do not do. So I use the share button. And you're going to download. And it'll default to PDF, which I never use. And now you got other choices. If I'm going to make this a PowerPoint or a keynote presentation or use Google Slides, for example, I'm going to use PNG. You can use JPEG, but PNG is better quality images. And so if you're going to print it later, you want the highest quality you can get. If I'm going to use PowerPoint, I can actually save it as a PowerPoint and then edit it from there. And the reason I choose to do it this way is because I often edit from this point on. So if it is a presentation, I bring it into PowerPoint using one of those two methods, and then I start either annotating the slides or I add notes to the bottom. Like I'll go out of here and go back to my PowerPoint for a minute. This is how I do my classes. I put my notes underneath, and when I'm presenting, no one sees them. So that's what I would do in PowerPoint, is add the notes. And also, if you want to highlight anything, you can throw an arrow on there and you can put animations and stuff like that. So that's what you do to save it. Now, if you were making this as a website header, all the same principles apply. The only difference would be that you would go to websites and you would go to website, or you would put website header. And now it's giving you some sample websites that you can choose from, templates. And then so it's making it the size and shape that you basically want. And then you can start editing from there and just pick the first one. If all it is a header, you just want the cover page. And so you want one that's going to look as much like your cover page as possible, the cover page that you want as possible. All right, now you might want to make a video. A lot of people use YouTube. And so if you want to make a video, you've got the same options. You go back to home. It says, what do you want to make? You say video. You've got basically two choices, mobile video and video, because almost all the mobile platforms use the same video proportions. I'm going to say video because I'm assuming it's for YouTube. And I'm going to choose a template, same way I did with anything else. It's going to bring up my templates, blank first, and now I can search. So I'm going to say, I want it to be a scrapbook, because mine is a scrapbook of photos from a social that we did at SCORE in August. And so now I have choices of templates just like I did before, and I can pick one and I'm good to go. Now I already chose one that looked like this, Billy's Baby Book. Now, as I just said, I'm not doing a baby book, but I liked the basic design of this. It was homey, but I don't like the colors, and I'm obviously going to use my own pictures and not pictures of babies. So you'll see that it created a video for me with a bunch of slides, all at 5 seconds each. And so I may or may not use them all, and I can always delete them if I want to. But here's my video as I changed it. So the first thing I did, highlighted the background, changed the background. And it asked me, do you want to change it everywhere? Or do you want to only change it in one place? And I said, change all. So it made every single one of these slides changed. Now you'll notice they're not the same as each other, and that's because the original wasn't either. So it's going to change it to the same amount or same degree that the original was. The second thing I did was I swapped my photo out, and I showed you how to do that. But this time I not only chose a photo, but I edited it by choosing a filter. And I picked a filter that went with my background better. Because you can see some of them are more brown, some of them are almost more blue, and some of them are almost more greenish. So I scrolled through the filters until I found mist, and I turned it to that so that the bottom color looked closer to my background. I edited my text in all the places, and then I edited the color of the text, again, by highlighting the text color and picking one. So that's what I did on slide 1. On slide 2, I changed this. This is a photo too. I didn't realize it. I thought it was maybe an element, but it turns out it was a photo. I clicked edit photo, I clicked filters, and I picked the one that went with this the best. Put my own picture in, and that one's good to go. In here, change the photo, change the text, change nothing else because I already had changed the background. Same thing here. Change the photos, change the text. Now here, I made more changes. When I uploaded this picture, I decided it was too bright. So I already used the transparency tool because you'll see if it's 100%, it's kind of jarring compared to all the other ones. And so I wanted to make it more similar to the picture next to it. So I used my transparency tool to make it look a little bit less. I also could swap this. I could change it, or I could edit. It's a photo, believe it or not. Or I could again use a filter and change the color. I also got rid of the Queen Anne's lace that was on the other pages, deleted it, and then went to elements, chose flowers, and chose graphics, and chose that one, and put it up here, and then I changed the color so it blended in better. So you can see that there's all kinds of stuff. You can even edit the tape. The tape is a photo. If I go filter, I can change the filter so that it makes it a better color. You can see there's so many choices. I'm going to pick this one just for demonstration purposes, and that's really terrible. I can't even keep it that way. All right. Now, once I have my video, now I have a couple of choices to make. How do I want to show this video? If I want to show the video straight in Canva, I can, but most of the time I don't. That's not my personal taste. I generally like to save these individual images as opposed to video clips. So when I hit share and download, it's going to default to video, but I'm going to change it and I'm going to turn it into PNG. And then I'm going to take every one of these images. It's going to save 10 of them with separate file names. I'm going to save each one of those images, and I'm going to import them into my personal video editing software. But let's say that I would love to get one of the benefits of Canva, which is cool animations on the cover. So what I can do in that case is make my own separate cover. See how it has a different name? It looks exactly like the cover did on the video that I created before, which I downloaded to pictures, except this time, when I highlight text, I see something called skate, which is an animation that I put on the text. And when I highlight the whole page, it shows me page animations, and I chose one down here. Flip. And so then I can change the length of time that this plays by dragging it or typing how many seconds. So say I want 5. I can just drag until I get to 5. And then I can hit play and see what it looks like. And if I like it, now I do share, download, video, download. And now when I go into my video editor, I import this video clip. I import all but the cover of the other slides and turn that into one big video. Last but not least, social media posts. In this case, I am using the same branding that I used on my sample presentation. And if I go back up to the top to refresh my memory, it looked like that. So I want my branding to look like this. So in this case, I'm actually going to go to home. I'm going to say social media. I'm going to choose Instagram. And I'm going to say post. And I'm going to keep my blank template. I'm then going to go to my other work that I've already done and saved. I am going to highlight my text. I am going to hit the copy feature, which is in here, not this. This is duplicate on the page. So I'm going to hit more and copy. And then I go over to here and I paste it in my blank slide. And then I resize it so it fits. Then what I do is I use the same font that was on my other branding. I use pictures that I've already used in my other branding. And then because that other branding had a cool, where was that? It was here. Nope. Because it had a cool background and I can't replicate that because that was from the template, I found a picture. And if I double click it, you can see that there's the whole picture. It was actually this with this person in it. And all I did was cropped it and then made it fit in the square. And then I used my transparency tool to make it so that it blended in better and didn't show up so much. So that's how you can create cool backgrounds. You can create them with a picture if you can't find one that you like and edit it like crazy. So the same background exists here and my same branding exists here. Only now I've got a bigger picture, but the text, the font is still the same, glacial indifference. And my third one, I've made this much more complex. Same background, same title, only now I've moved it. Same photos from previously, matching my brand aesthetic. Only this time I added an element using elements, square, resized it, changed it to white, went over all the way to the right to the more, found my transparency tool, turned it transparent so I could see through to the picture, and then typed text on top. So that's how I got this. So you can see there are so many choices as to how you can use this tool and simple elements to brand your work. I'm going to undo all of that so you can see what it looks like finished. Okay, so what happens now? What happens now is that, or next, is that you will get an email with a link to this replay so you can watch this again and put it on pause and try this stuff yourself. What happens then is you practice designing and you can share your designs with other people so that you can get some feedback. And then what could happen is you might want to work with a SCORE mentor. And so Steve's going to put up a poll to ask you if you have a SCORE mentor that you're working with. And if you don't, if you'd like one. And if you would like one, we will send you an email and show you how you can get a mentor. It's really easy. Meanwhile, we're going to start preparing for the Q&A. So if anybody's already typed questions in the Q&A box, we'll go through those. And if you haven't typed your questions yet, by all means, feel free to type away. And if your question is complicated, you could ask the basics and then say, please allow me to speak, and we'll let you talk. And again, if you have one that's more confidential, we can wait until the recording has stopped. And I am going to stop sharing PowerPoint and go back to Canva in case you want me to demonstrate anything. So we're ready for anything. So we're ready for the questions. Does we have any questions so far?
All right, that was great, Kathleen. We don't have any questions right now. Oh, we just had one come in. We just had two come in. Naomi asks, what was the name of the website you recommended to find pictures?
Unsplash.
Unsplash.
Mm-hmm.
Marlene asked, what is the website with stock photos? I'm guessing that's the same one.
Yes, there are tons of other choices like Getty Images and Adobe. There are a lot, but what I find, and I do have a subscription to Adobe. If you're doing something more corporate, Adobe tends to work really well. But if you're looking for something interesting, different, more artistic, that's where I go to Unsplash.
Okay, great. And again, if anybody has any question, you can feel free to type it in the Q&A box, or we can also let you speak if it is a more complicated question. Kathleen, you mentioned at one point you mentioned the Canva Pro, where it's got the crown there. Is the version you were using a free version, and is Canva Pro a subscription?
Yes.
Okay. What are the kind of major enhancements you get by subscribing?
Well, you get all the templates, all the images. You also get the use of AI tools, which they've recently added. I haven't tried them because I don't have the pro subscription, but you can try it for a while and then cancel it if you don't like it. But yeah, and you also can upload, if you have a brand document which lists your brand colors that say you have on your website or something like that, you can upload that and it will use it automatically when you start playing with things. So there are a lot of advantages. I don't know what it costs. I haven't looked into it, but they're right when you're on the homepage, you will see that it's got pricing right at the top, plans and pricing. So you can just check into pricing if you want to.
Yeah, it's helpful.
And it's also got tools to learn stuff. But I often find that when I look for tutorials on how to use a tool, I often don't use the company's own tutorials because the people are too smart. They know their tool too well. They don't always explain it to beginners like me. So if I'm looking for Excel help, I don't go to Microsoft. I go to YouTube and find somebody else. And the same is true here. Theirs isn't bad. This is a good company. This is a good product, but I often find there's some other people who are better at it.
Right. Now that makes a lot of sense. Don't have any other questions right now. Oh, we just had one come in from Naomi. Is there a way to input the brand colors with the free version?
There is not. So what I would do is create an image like a JPEG, for example, out of your brand colors, and then upload that and put it in your document somewhere. Because what you'll notice when I chose design, there's a styles choice. And you'll see that they've got combinations for people who aren't designers. And so if you choose a style, it'll pick it. So you can't do that. But as soon as I upload a picture, let's say I go here and I say uploads and I choose this one. Now, if I go edit background, and because it gives me my photo colors, it's only choosing 5 of the pictures that were in the photo. But if you had your brand colors lined up as stripes with 5 stripes going across the page on your JPEG and uploaded it, now it's in your document, and now it would be one of the photo colors choices. The other thing you can do, and it will probably identify them, because you see how it figured out this color is this number. And so you can make sure that it matches, because if you know what your colors are, you probably know what the numbers are. You can also go up here and you can type the color number if you want to pick it. So you don't have to look for it. So say, you know, it's like black. I forget what black is, but anyway, say it's 3A BC 56. If you know what the color is and you type it, it's going to find it. That's pretty garish, but that's one way to get around it with the free version. It's not as convenient, but you can do it.
That's great advice. Hey, you mentioned at one point when you were showing how to download something, you mentioned your preference is either PowerPoint or the PNG. Can you just talk about how you would edit? If you download something into PowerPoint, are you then going into the PowerPoint application and editing it from there?
Yes.
Okay. And then, but if you download it as PNG, how do you edit something from there?
So if I download it as PNG, I'm going to go to home, because I'm in PowerPoint, say, and I created, well, I'll just create a new one. Create blank, turn it blank. Okay. So I'm going to go to insert. So now I have a blank screen, blank PowerPoint with nothing. I go insert, pictures. This device, because I downloaded the pictures. Pick a picture. Click insert. Now it's there.
Okay. And you can edit it from there.
Yes, I can't edit the picture per se, but I can crop it. I can use the same transparency feature to make this not look so much. And then I can make the background a different color. So I can use, and I can type text on top of it. I can use all my normal PowerPoint features. Conversely, if I already downloaded it into PowerPoint, it's already created the whole presentation for me. And now I just edit it from there. I can annotate, I can add my animations, transitions, whatever I want.
Yeah. No, it's pretty slick. I mean, I know nothing about Canva before today, so this was very eye-opening. And to me, it's what you just showed in an hour is, I mean, there got to be a whole host of things that people can learn just by playing around with it. And that's probably the best way to move forward, right? And you said check out some YouTube videos, right?
And definitely, once you've learned to start with templates and you use the techniques that I've shown you here, you can, and then you remember undo and redo. You can make almost unlimited changes to templates. And then if you want to start trying to design on your own, you can, but I find it harder. Oh, one last thing. This menu is going to be golden over on the left-hand side. The text menu, I wanted to show you because I hadn't shown it to you yet. You can see that you can add a text box and just start typing. You can also add a heading and it's going to default to a font. You can add a subheading, it'll default to a font and a color. And you can add body text, it's going to default to a font and color. You can change them. But the part where the power is down below, where it's got font combinations. Again, when you're not a designer, these font combinations are where I tend to trip up. I tend to put the wrong things together, or I only use one because I can't think of what else it goes with. So choosing these combinations can be really, really helpful, because you can see some of them are interesting and I wouldn't think to do that. Or like, there's one about like huge sale. That's common, but I wouldn't think to make it look like that. And you can change the colors once you get it in. So that's an excellent tool as well. And then just scroll through these and just see what the choices are. just play with them and see, do I like any of these menu picks, and which ones do I just want to ignore entirely?
All right, that's wonderful. Well,
Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any other questions, except for a number of comments saying how valuable and helpful this was. So, but no other open questions. So I think we're at 1 o'clock, so we could probably wrap it up.
Great. We're going to say thank you for coming. Reminder, you will get the replay. And this video, along with several others, are on our YouTube channel at Greater Hartford SCORE, and also on our website at score.org. There are so many helpful videos of all kinds, marketing, other tools like this, operations, cybersecurity, how to start a business if you haven't started yet. And so while you're there, you might as well subscribe so that you can get notified when we have new ones. And now we will turn off the recording after saying thank you and farewell.